guys, Nicole here and welcome back to my channel. So in this video today, I'm going to show you my new setup for my lights and walk you through how I've got everything configured. So I got a new shelf about a week ago, which I've added to accommodate a couple of more orchids. And I was actually waiting for these lights to come in. They are the Orchid Hobbyist lights. They are specific for orchids, and I'll link them down below. But I put them up with zip ties and connected all 6 of them. So these I installed yesterday and they get very good reviews. So I'm gonna see how they do. But the reason I have the lights off is because I've also got different kinds of lights over here that I've got from Amazon. The top ones are called Monios grow lights, and these are high output lights. I believe they have 24 watts. I'll put the specs down below, but I've got 3 here. And this color is a very different from the Orchid Hobbyist lights. So it looks a little bit different. It's now that I've set it up, like I love the setup because I have much more room for everything, but the colors are very different. So something that I need to keep in mind. But these are the Monios lights, and these were the lights that I was using before. And these are the same lights that I use for my cattleyas. So I have them off for now. I'll turn them on shortly, but I initially had my cattleyas in under these lights, and you can sort of tell because you can see the light green color. You see that one in the back is a good example. Here in the front, they're all growing really nicely. I may have to lower the shelf down a little bit more given that these are really high light requirement orchids, but so far I like them, and they're very they've actually burned a few leaves if they touch or get too close, but not with the cattleyas. Anyhow, so those are the Monios grow lights. And then down below, I've got the Kihung grow lights, which I'll link from Amazon below. They're much lower output. I've got 4 interlaced here. They're 2-foot lights, and I have them with my seedlings. I've also got a few other orchids down below. These are less powerful lights, but they're much cooler than the Monios lights. So very, very different spectrums going on in here. It's gonna drive me a little bit crazy, but candidly, I was waiting for these Orchid Hobbyist lights on the left. They were back ordered for 3 months. So when I needed lights, I went ahead and ordered a few on Amazon. I was pleasantly surprised with these 2 options from Monios and Kihung. The 2 on top are high output lights for high light plants and orchids. And the ones on the bottom are more for, they're a little bit lower power, but I was impressed with them. They actually spiked one of my oncidiums, which is great. So I'm gonna turn on the light so you can see what it looks like. So as you can see, the light spectrum is sort of all over the place. You can see on the upper right hand side, those Monios lights are much more warm. On the bottom right, the Kihung lights are very cool. So it's it's completely all over the place. And then on the left, we've got the Orchid Hobbyist lights, which are different because they're 3 feet long in contrast with the other lights that are 2 feet long, and you sort of have to weave them in together, and there's some gaps. But the Orchid Hobbyist lights, they're full spectrum grow lights. I'll put the specs down below so you can see them, but they have extra red in them. And the red is supposed to be more for the orchid to absorb in the chlorophyll. I'll say that I'm no lighting expert here, but I'll put the specs and the link down below so that you can read more. But I got these because they have very good reviews. And I wanted to expand my my grow shelf. I do have the room here. This is a spare bedroom where I'm growing my orchids. It's just my plants in here, and I also have my cat litter box here as well. But yeah, this is the setup. I did change things up a little bit in that when I had this, when I had these shelves, things would go through, especially my smaller orchids, like the ones in the back. So I got these liners for the shelves, which are great, so nothing can go through. When I set these lights up, and I'll turn them off again. When I set these lights up, I use zip ties to bring them up, and I tucked in all of the cords so that they're not hanging everywhere. I am still working on getting a timer for the other outlet on the left because there's a black cord on the bottom there that I'm working on hiding. Otherwise, I do have a timer down here, which I set for 14 hours a day. I'm gonna lower that down to 12 hours a day, but I have a timer set from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night. So they run pretty regularly. And now that I'm moving everything to self-watering, there's a constantly wet environment, right? Constantly moist. So I have a fan running here. It's off right now, but I have this running facing the orchids 24/7. I want to make sure that there's plenty of air circulation, and with the self-watering pots, they are prone to a little bit of mold, so I want to make sure that there's constant airflow, constant air circulation, and that everything is working well. Now, I did have this under those high output lights, and they did burn a little bit, as you can see there. But this is the setup. I do have a window here. The window does not lead to very much sun because it's between a bunch of buildings, so I maybe get 2 hours of sun and it doesn't hit the shelves directly. It comes in an angle, so it doesn't really get any sun really. But the goal is to simplify my watering. So I do have room for a couple more orchids. I do have a few more coming, but I don't want to fill the shelves up because I want to make sure that there's room to water. On the bottom left, you can see my watering can over there. And my whole goal is just to be able to stop going back and forth to the kitchen and running water through all of my orchids. So I've actually been working on taking my pots and covering the hole up. So I put a little bit of silicone in there, and it just makes it waterproof. So I don't have to worry about, when I water my orchids, I don't have to worry about the water flowing through. So I can just come here, just water my plants with my watering tin, just pour the water. That's the goal, just pour a little bit of water in there, and I'll be good to go. Spray the aerial roots. And the majority of my orchids have a sphagnum moss bark mix. And by covering the bottom and making sure that there's no drainage hole, I'm not going to be overwatering. I'm going to be making sure that I'm giving it just enough where I'm not keeping the roots soggy, but that sphagnum moss on the bottom is distributing the moisture evenly. So this is the setup. The temperatures right now are 74 degrees with 36% humidity. I'm going to be adding a humidifier in here as well, and that'll finish out what I need to do with my grow space. I've got about 50 orchids in here, different light requirements for all of them. The ones I need to pay attention to the most are these cattleyas here and my vandas. And I was growing them before with just 2 lights. I've added a third, but they're a little bit further away, so I've got them about 7 inches away from the top of the leaves. I may lower it to make sure that they get enough light. They were getting a lot of light before. As you can see, this is light green. Like, these were getting really good light. Good lighting when I had the lights really close, but we'll see how this goes for a couple of weeks before I make any changes, given that I've added a new light. So I will link all of these lights below and put the specs for all of them on the screen as well, so you can compare the differences. The way I have them set up, I have my cattleyas very, very close to the light. So as you can see here, they got direct exposure and they're very close to these LED lights. Thankfully they're not hot, so they don't cause damage. And we'll see how they do in this setup. I may have to bring these cattleyas closer, but time will tell. So far they're happy. Quick update here. This is my Phalaenopsis seedling. I've got a little leaf growing, which is great. So it's like in this self-watering setup. And the seedlings in the back, they're adapting as well. And they are doing just fine. Vanda is also doing really well. So a quick update here is that the vanda is throwing out a lot of new roots. Quickly taking this out. This vanda has, I'm gonna get it out of the light so that you can see it a little bit better, but it's got new roots galore. It's doing so great. I have found that the long roots have sort of broken a little bit and they're not getting hydration all the way to the top, but the new root tips are coming in and I'm just spraying it down pretty frequently. But I will do a bigger update on this later, but it's got growths all over the place. So that's a quick update. So this is the setup that I've got. I've expanded a bit. And yeah, this is how I'm gonna be growing all of these orchids through the winter. I've brought the vandas in. Now I've got the Dendrobium nobilis outside, which need a cold winter rest. So constantly rotating and giving my orchids what they need. But yeah, thanks for stopping by and thanks for watching. Bye guys.